a news report about 1 in 20 people right now in Hong Kong has been infected with Omicron. Our hospital capacity is at its max. There's lots of patients and just waiting for the emergency room. So, you know, the government has told us to stay home if you have any symptoms or if you've done a rapid antigen test and you're tested positive, etc. So yeah, so even the hospital can't really save you right now because they're pretty busy. On the 4th of March, I was tested positive for COVID on the rapid antigen test. So I was just thinking back to, if I was tested positive on the 4th of March, when did I get infected? Well, luckily it wasn't that hard to trace back my footsteps because I haven't been seeing anyone except for one person. So I assumed that I was infected on the 27th of February. So that is when I went on a hike with a friend. Well, obviously on the hike, we were both wearing masks, instances where we have food together. So I'm assuming I got infected there because my friend had symptoms the day, I think on the, let me check. On the 2nd of March, my friend tested positive for COVID. Actually, funny story because I didn't know I was infected until the 4th. So on the 2nd, I booked my booster appointment. At night, my friend told me that, oh yeah, he got COVID. But I tested right away and my test was negative. I tested on the 2nd of March when my friend told me that he's COVID positive. So this was my test and it was negative. I tested this like, I think right after my booster, and then this in the middle of the night just to be sure. So on the 2nd of March, I've tested negative. And then on the 3rd of March, I continued to be negative. I started isolating from this day, so I haven't left my house after I got the booster. And then on the 3rd, I still test negative. I tried to test every day just to see, like, you know, if I'm actually positive or negative. On the 3rd of March at night, I tested again. It's actually just one line. That line appeared after 20 minutes. You're supposed to look at the results between 15 and 20 minutes. So yeah, so this was still negative. And then on the 4th of March, since I saw even the very faint line means I am positive. So 4th of March is the day that I was tested positive for COVID-19. The 5th, the line becomes more and more obvious. So you can clearly see that I'm positive on the 5th of March. Today is the 8th of March. And yeah, the line is very, very obvious. It actually, when I put my sample here, the T line actually appeared faster than the control line. So it meant that my viral loads are pretty high. But right now, I think I'm at the peak stage of me having COVID. Yeah, obviously I'm gonna update you guys more. Oh yes, so basically I just want to tell you guys about what COVID does to me specifically, like what are my symptoms, because I've heard from a lot of people how COVID affects different people differently. So for example, my friend that got infected, his symptoms are mainly based around like having dry coughing and a runny nose, and he also threw up as well. And for me, they're completely different. So on the 2nd of March, when I got my COVID booster, I actually did not know I had COVID. Apparently, it weakens your immune system even more, so you're more vulnerable to COVID itself. So yeah, I think that probably explains why my symptoms were more severe and they're more different. On the 3rd of March, I started getting some fever at night. A little bit of phlegm, like a little bit of mucus in my throat, but it wasn't anything. I just thought that, oh yeah, I got a booster, that's why I'm getting fever and chills, and I've had like fried food for the last 2 days, so I feel like my throat wasn't feeling that well. But yeah, I took Panadol and I just went to bed, and the fever and the chills went away the next day. And then on the 4th, I woke up to it's a pretty painful throat pain, and I did the test in the morning and it was weekly positive. If I was going to do a PCR test, I would probably be positive 2 days ago, because the rapid antigen test only tests for really large viral loads. So on the 5th, my throat hurts even more and there's more phlegm and I couldn't really talk properly. And every time I try to swallow something, it just hurts like hell. For me, the sore throat is not the kind of sore throat you get when you have a cold. It just feels like someone stabbed a knife all along your throat here, all the way from the top to the bottom, and it feels like there's a wound everywhere and it won't stop bleeding, and every time you swallow saliva or you swallow food, it just burns. Like, it's this feeling of being cut inside the throat. That's what it felt like to me. My dad got me this thing. I'm not like, it's just a mixture of Chinese medicine. It's supposed to clear screwage, remove toxins, and diffuse lungs. It discharges heat. Like in Chinese medicine, when your body is too hot, like it makes it cooler in a sense. But apparently they're sold out everywhere in Hong Kong, but they don't really work for me. So I just stuck with Panadol. Yeah, basically just Panadol. Actually, I stopped yesterday because, you know, it only helps so much and I don't want to be too reliant on these medications anyways. On the 6th of March, my phlegm or my mucus started to disappear a little bit, but my throat hurts even more. And then on the 7th, I developed a cough. Yeah, so every day the symptoms are pretty different. And then today's the 8th, and I actually feel a bit better because my throat don't hurt so much. And yeah, my test is still really positive. It was the last test I've shown you, and it was 2 bold lines. So yeah, I still have some running nose. I have some tendency to cough. Hey, sorry, this is day 9 Edison talking. I think looking back, if I had any advice for people who got COVID in Hong Kong about asking for help from the government, I would say don't, because I've tried 2 or 3 of their hotlines and none of them went through, and I've been dialing for like a good 2-3 hours when I was tested positive. Yeah, I think the best thing to do is to stock up on lots of and also Panadol. Well, not stock up, but then like maybe have 1 or 2 packs of Panadol at your disposal. And yeah, I think after experiencing COVID itself, I think it's really important for you to have a very healthy and very positive mindset, because sometimes our emotions really affect how we're dealing through things. So yeah, I think just stay positive. So today's the 12th of March. This is day 9. Let's just see if we test positive or not. So I'll probably isolate for 2 or 3 days just to make sure that I'm actually negative and I would not be infectious to anyone else.